Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. The Israelites have been scattered across the four corners of the earth, as prophesied in Deuteronomy, the 20th chapter. Here in Israel, united in Christ, we need your help to recover the remnant of our people, teach them the gospel. Please help us, support us, and join or donate to the Booster Club today. Shalom.
Acts 15, verse 1. Now, Acts 15, if you have not, for the Christianity cults out there, if you have not read Acts, you're wasting your time in Paul's letters. Acts is the introduction to all of Paul's letters. If you have not read Acts, you're lost. That goes for y'all in this room as well. If you have not read Acts, you are lost. Acts 15, verse 1.
The book of Acts, chapter 15, and verse 1. And certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren, and said, except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moses, ye cannot be saved.
After the manner of Moses, you cannot be saved. So you had some that came down from Judea, meaning you had the disciples were in Judea, and they would teach the men the gospel. And these men were then sent out to teach our brothers who were scattered abroad what they learned. What they would do is they would leave and preach another gospel. That's the same in Galatians 1. They will leave and preach something contrary to what they were sent to teach. Namely, you must be circumcised and keep the law at the manner of Moses. It goes into animal sacrifice. Go ahead.
When therefore Paul and Barnabas had no small dissension and disputation with them,
This caused problems. Go ahead.
they determined that Paul and Barnabas and certain other of them should go up to Jerusalem unto the apostles and elders about this question.
Go ahead.
And being brought on their way by the church, they passed through Phoenice and Samaria, declaring the conversion of the Gentiles.
Our people are scattered in those lands. They were called Gentiles. Go ahead.
And they caused great joy unto all the
When
brethren.
they got word that our people who are living outside of Jerusalem were receiving the word. Go ahead.
And when they were come to Jerusalem, they were received of the church and of the apostles and elders, and they declared all things that God had done with them.
Go ahead.
But there rose up certain of the sect of the Pharisees, which believed,
Which
saying,
believed, quote unquote, believed. These are the false brethren in Galatians 2. Go ahead.
saying that it was needful to circumcise them and to command them to keep the law of Moses.
And the commandment to keep the law of Moses going into animal sacrifice. Now, people use this and go, see? So you had people among the believers that was saying you must get circumcised and keep the laws of Moses. The Esau's gospel says this is referring to the commandments. They were saying, see, you got to get circumcised and keep the laws of, meaning thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. They were commanding them to do that. Law here is referring to the laws of sacrifice. That's what it's referring to. Read on. Jump to verse 19. I'm going to prove it to you. So the issue was that these men were sent by the elders to teach our people throughout the diaspora. And they were teaching something contrary to what they were sent to teach. They were teaching, rather than teaching faith in Christ and keep the commandments, they were teaching the hell of Christ and faith, get circumcised and keep the law of sacrifice. That's what they were doing. They were infiltrating the churches. You can't beat them, infiltrate them. That's what they do. If you can't come attack them from the outside, we'll attack them from the inside. That's what's happening here. That's why you read about the Galatians being called foolish. The Ephesians are being fooled. They were being infiltrated by the Pharisees, who allegedly believed. Okay, they are pushing something else. Verse 19.
Acts 15 and verse 19. Wherefore my sentence is that we trouble not them.
This is what James said. Read verse 19 again.
Wherefore my sentence is that we trouble not them, which from among the Gentiles are turned to God.
Which from among the Gentiles, that's our people again, are turned to God. Remember, back in verse 5 it said, conversion of the Gentiles. Verse 3.
Verse 3.
No, read verse 3. Yeah, read
Verse 3. And being brought on their way by the church, they passed through Phoenicia and Samaria, declaring the conversion of the Gentiles.
So the verse 19 again.
Wherefore my sentence is that we trouble not them which from among the Gentiles are turned to God.
Same thing. They called our people Gentiles. Because they were living as Gentiles. The same way we call our people blacks today. And that's not what they are, but we call them that because the world knows them as that.
But Deacon Nathan, they say among the Gentiles.
Right, among,
If that was for all Gentile, why you have to quote it like that?
Right.
Among the Gentile, I mean that there's a set of people among the Gentile that belong to the Israelites.
Right.
You
Go ahead.
understand?
Go ahead. Verse
But
20.
that we write unto them, that they abstain from pollution of idols, and from fornication, and from things strangled, and from blood.
So these things we command that they should focus on. Abstaining from idols, because that was their thing. Fornication, which came out of worship, orgies and so forth. Things strangled, and from blood, meaning that goes into drinking blood and so forth. All those things involved in idolatry again. All those things come with idolatry. Go ahead.
For Moses of old time hath in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day.
Why is he saying that? Why is he saying that? It says, for means because. For Moses of old time have in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day. Why is he making reference to that for? For what reason? Who has an idea? It's going to be a hard class. Hope y'all paying attention. Yeah, Baruch. Try.
Shalom. Did
Shalom.
it have something to do with the old covenant?
That's all I asked. I asked why is he making reference to it? Not sure. Yeah, no.
Yeah, shalom. Well, I think he's saying this because
You started off wrong already. So you think.
all right, pardon me. All right, he's saying this because it says, but that we write unto them that they abstain from pollutions of idols and from fornication and from things strangled and from blood.
Right.
So in the verse 21, it's saying, for Moses of old time hath in every city them that preach him. So it's all right. They're used to the laws of Moses right now. The gospel of Christ is like new to them right now. So he's saying to them, listen, just make sure they stay away from these things right now. Let them focus on this because they're used to the laws of Moses. They're used to the basically the.
No.
Okay.
You almost had it though. You started off good, but then fell off the horse. Anybody? Jonah? You try. Let's see if you get it.
It's letting you know that Moses dealt with the same issue back then. That's why
No.
they're making that reference.
Nope. Pass it up. Hand up right there. Stand up. Your hand up.
You remember what this statement is. He's saying that, and the Lord, Moses have prophet was teaching the laws among all Israel. He's giving you the clue when he's saying that to the question.
Yeah.
Shalom, Deacon.
So
I was thinking, because he said he preached Moses, so he was making reference to that because
yeah, no.
it wasn't no other gospel, like it says.
No, I'm gonna give it to you. Read verse 20 again.
But that we write unto them, that they abstain from pollution of idols,
These are the things we tell them to do. Abstain from idols. Go ahead.
from fornication,
Abstain from that.
and from the things strangled, and from blood.
And from blood. These are things that they tell them to focus on. Next verse.
For Moses of old
For
time,
means because Moses, go ahead.
of old time hath in every city them that preach him.
You don't have to give them the laws because the laws are taught all around the place. They can go into the synagogue and learn the laws. All they got to do is focus on having faith in Christ and abstain from these things. They want to learn the laws. They can go to any synagogue and learn the laws. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's saying to them. Because Moses has them. Why give them the law for? They can go into the synagogue over there, because they're allowed and learn Moses there. But our focus for them is to have faith in Christ first and foremost, and to what? Abstain from these things, because that was their hang-up. And then in terms of hearing the laws of Moses, to apply those, they can go to synagogue and they can do that. It's not a problem. They can learn that, and we can guide them from there. That's what he's saying. You understand?
It's the same thing. We go in the street and preaching. But something you don't need to preach in the street. When they come in, they're going to learn it anyway.
Right.
It's the same thing, same statement.
Verse. Read on. 22.
Being read in the synagogue every Sabbath day.
Uh-huh.
Then pleased it the apostles and elders with the whole church to send chosen men of their own company to Antioch with Paul and Barnabas, namely Judas, surnamed Barsabbas, and Silas, chief men among the brethren.
They were sending men that they were teaching to teach one thing, they were teaching something else. So we're gonna send men whom we trust this time to teach what we teach, rather than those who come in to learn. We need to go teach so and so. They were doing something else. So we're gonna teach men who are trusted, reputation, to go and spread what we teach. Go ahead.
And they wrote letters by them after this manner.
So when they sent these men who they trusted, they would send them with letters on what they were going to teach. So the people would know, okay, he is sent here to teach us this that's in this letter. So that's something contrary. The elders are writing letters what they sent these men to preach to them. So they would know what they were sent for and what to teach. So there was no confusion. Go ahead.
The apostles and elders and brethren send greeting unto the brethren which are of the Gentiles.
Which are of the Gentiles, or among the Gentiles. Same thing, the brethren. Brethren. Go ahead.
In Antioch, in Syria, and Cilicia.
Watch this, 24.
For as much as we have heard that certain which went out from us have troubled you with words, subverting your souls,
Destroying your faith.
saying ye must be circumcised and keep the law,
And keep the law. Go ahead.
to whom we give no such commandment.
Go, see, the apostles didn't push the law. See? Now they used this for that. They go, see, they didn't push the law. They were against pushing the circumcision and pushing keeping the commandments. But that's not what they're talking about here. Because remember, the men who went out from them was saying, go away from the hell with Christ, that Messiah stuff. You got to get circumcised and keep the laws of Moses. Come back and start sacrificing again. That's what was happening. They were pushing them back into the old covenant. Go back to the old covenant of sacrificing and so forth and push Christ to the side. They were pushing another gospel, which is the same gospel. You understand what I'm saying? They were using the same Bible, push the same thing. They were saying, negate Christ out of that and just get circumcised and offer sacrifices and along with the law. That's what they were doing. Read the bottom again. You must be what?
Ye must be circumcised and keep the law.
We're going to do that part. It says keep the law, so I may be confused. We're going to do it the part where it says keep the law. Go ahead.
To whom we gave no such commandment.
Go ahead. To whom we gave no such order. Go ahead.
It seemed good unto us, being assembled with one accord, to send chosen men unto you, with our beloved Barnabas and Paul, men that have hazarded their lives.
One. Let's get now. So they go, you cannot. So they're saying here, they gave no such commandment to do what? To circumcise them and to keep the laws, right? Get Acts 16, verse 1. Explain this then. Acts 16, verse 1. If circumcision, they're going to say, based upon Acts 15, circumcision is not important. In Christ, circumcision is not important at all. Neither is keeping the laws of Moses. It's not important either, right? Okay. Acts 16, verse 1.
The book of Acts, chapter 16, verse 1. Then came he to Derbe in Lystra, and behold, a certain disciple was there named Timotheus, the son of a certain woman, which was a Jewess, and believed.
I mean, she was observing the laws of Moses. She was, go ahead, a Jew. Go ahead.
But his father was a Greek.
Now, he doesn't say, see, Timothy was a white boy. He was a Greek. No, his father was following Greek customs. He was a Grecian. It's interchangeable. Let me give you an example of what I mean. In modern times, we will refer to Ephraim as three things. We refer to Ephraim as Spanish people. We refer to Ephraim as Hispanics. And we refer to Ephraim as Latinos. Yep. But it's all the same people, though. You understand? So likewise, our people, ironically, Ephraim was scattered abroad. Right. Likewise back then, we will refer to our people as Greeks, Grecians, strangers, uncircumcision, foreigners, but we're referring to the same people. Gentiles, same thing. It's the same thing. But let's just say, for now, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Let's just say that the Greek here is referring to him being Caucasian. Let's just go with that. I'll play the devil's advocate today. Let's just say it means that, right? Read on. Watch this. Because remember, the point is, they said in Acts 15, you don't got to circumcise no one, you don't keep the law of Moses, right? You remember that? Go ahead.
Verse 2, which was well reported of by the brethren that were at Lystra and Iconium.
Verse 3, watch this.
Him would Paul have to go forth with them.
To do what?
And took and circumcised him because of the Jews which were in those quarters. For they knew all that his father was a Greek.
Now, wait a minute. Why would Paul go out of his way to circumcise this boy, whether heathen or not, if Acts 15 stated it's not necessary? That's how you destroy Christianity. Because Acts 15 is them infiltrating the church to pull them away from Christ and observing the laws of Moses without Christ entirely. Acts 15 says, don't circumcise, you gave no such commandment, and keep the law of Moses. Yet Paul, who was present there in Acts 15, in Acts 16, goes against that order and circumcises someone anyway? So is that a schism going on? No, it's not. It's not at all. Acts 16, because Timothy, again, it was Israel, we declare. But even if he wasn't, why did Paul go out of his way to assure he himself would circumcise Timothy in this area? Why? If it was unimportant in Acts 15. Because Timothy had one thing that the Gentiles who were learning did not have. He had faith. His mother believed, and he learned from his mother. The reason why he was uncircumcised is because his father was a Greek, and under the Greek customs, circumcision was not done. They didn't circumcise their children. Remember in Maccabees, there was a law that was passed among the Greeks, do not circumcise. And Paul's father followed behind that. He was an assimilated Negro who did not circumcise his son. But he was raised under the tutelage of his mother, who believed, and so he had faith in Christ already based upon his mother. The father was somewhere, whatever. So Timothy went, so he had faith, and he was of good report among the brethren. And back in verse 2, so based upon his faith and his works, Paul went and circumcised him afterwards, because his faith came first. That's what Romans 4 goes into, where he goes into Abraham had faith, and once Abraham's faith was proven, when he got old, then the Lord said, okay, now I'll circumcise you as a sign of your faith. And you read Romans 4. That's another class. That's why I'm not going into that. That's why Timothy was circumcised, because his faith was confirmed. Y'all understand? Whereas in Acts 15, they were saying, listen, for now let them focus on abstaining from idols, this and that and the third, and also the laws can be taught to them in the synagogue. Once their faith is established, then we can go along with everything else. You understand? But there was an infiltration going on in the churches where they were pushing to negate faith in Christ and to just focus on Moses and Moses alone. And that's not what the gospel was being. That's not the gospel. The gospel involves faith in Christ as well. That's why in Hebrews 4 it says that their faith does not mingle with their belief, with the law. You understand? Y'all understand what I'm saying so far? I hope so. You're going to be lost. If you don't know, raise your hand, say you don't know.
Shalom. This is Bishop Nathaniel of Israel United in Christ. Please subscribe to our YouTube channels. Stay up to date with our latest events, music, and classroom lessons. IUIC plans to continue visiting different countries where this gospel has not been preached before. IUIC needs your help in pushing this truth. So join us. Subscribe to our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and podcast, and stay up to date with us. For more information, please visit www.israelunite.org.